Hi, this is Mike from ReplicaAirguns.com, and today we're not going to really be taking a look at any replica airguns, so to speak, but we are going to be taking a look at two blank firing guns and one, I guess you'd call it a replica, which is this Lady K by Kimar. It's a PPK replica. You can see it here. And this one shoots 8mm blanks, look like this. And then we have the Zoraki Mod.914, and this is actually a Turkish gun, and it's not really a replica of any gun in production, which makes it kind of unique for us here in Canada. And I'll show you the side here. And this particular gun shoots 9mm blanks. So here's a comparison of the sizes there. And I'll actually compare those to some live ammunition shortly. Alright. So why am I doing a side-by-side review of these two guns since they're not replica air guns? Well, people get into air gunning for many reasons. To shoot a gun without having to have a license, and shooting an air gun sometimes is the only way to do that. Even in some countries don't allow you to shoot live firearms. Sometimes you just want to be able to shoot in your backyard. You don't want to go to a gun range. You don't want to have to lock these things up in safes. You might just want to lock them up with a trigger lock or something. But you know, pellet guns are fun, and they're a lot of fun actually, but they don't go boom. And so the neat thing with these guns is they go boom, and they cycle really well, and they have magazines just like real firearms. You can see these ones here. This one goes to the Zoraki, and this is a 14-round mag, and this magazine here goes to the PPK, and this one is I believe it's 7 rounds. Yeah, 6 or 7. Anyways, so I wanted to do these two guns because they're kind of fun. People who are into air gunning may very well also be into blank guns that look realistic as well. So we'll take a look at these. Now, as far as rules and regulations and laws, they're all different everywhere. For instance, this gun here is prohibited in Canada because it's a replica, and it isn't considered a firearm, so therefore it is not allowed, and it's grandfathered in. So I believe prior to a certain date you could purchase and buy them. Then after that date you could own them, but you can't purchase them, you can't sell them, you can't take them outside of Canada and bring them back in. And there's definitely certain rules and regulations on how you take care and how you lock these up and transport them that are very strict. Whereas this gun, for whatever reason, does not fall into that classification because it is not considered a replica of any gun in existence. So therefore, it gets into a little gray area. Alright, so we'll take a look at the different sides of these guns. And I don't know if you can see on the video, but this is more of a shiny finish. The Zoraki is a shiny finish. The Lady K by Kimar is more of sort of a semi-gloss, more of a painted. This is considered plated. This gun has a plate. It's not blued, it's plated, and this gun looks more like it's painted. The difference in quality in these guns is quite drastic, and let's just double check, make sure there's no rounds in there. This one actually doesn't stay back. I'm just going to use my finger to double check. No rounds in that gun. Oh. Sorry, it's just hard to do this, but I wanted to double check. No rounds in that gun. And you'll notice the slide on this one just kicks back like crazy. There's a very heavy spring in it. The Zoraki has a very heavy spring. Let's decock these. Another interesting thing about the Zoraki here is that it's in fire mode, then there's a safe, and then there's a full auto mode, believe it or not. This thing will shoot in full auto, which is crazy. Whereas the Lady K, the PPK replica, only shoots in semi-auto. And the other thing with the Lady K that's a little different is it vents out of the top, because this gun I believe was originally from the US. So you can see the venting on the top, so all the flame comes out the top, it doesn't come out the muzzle. Whereas again with the Zoraki, a couple things I like about it is that the flame comes out the front, it doesn't vent out the top. It's definitely more realistic. Alright, let's take a quick look at the magazines and the ammunition. So here are the magazines right here, and you can see that one is a double stack, one's a single stack, so the PPK replica has a single stack. Again, here's the ammunition, and you can see that it's quite, a bit different in size. I want to show you some live ammunition here as a comparison. So here's 9mm, and you can see that the size of the actual casing is almost the same. Really very close. The blank round is actually a little longer, the casing, to accommodate some of the, probably the powder. And basically what happens with these is there's like this plastic sleeve that goes in there and the powder goes in there. And that's how that works. But you can see here that it would be almost impossible to get this round in there, and that's great. We don't want to be firing or accidentally firing live rounds in this thing and blowing up your gun. Alright, so let's take a look. Might as well at a 45. So there's a 45, and it's a little bigger. You can see that, and so it should be. Now the 45 is a slower moving bullet when you compare it to the 9mm, but it's a heavier bullet, and it really has a lot of stopping power, and that's why people use them. Okay, let's take a little bit more of a look at the Zoraki, and I'm going to try and field strip this. And to do that, you just pull this back a little bit. Sorry, it was really hard to get this out, because basically what you have to do is you have to line up this hole with this little piece right here, and it was a little bit difficult, so I had to take that away. But now that you've removed this from there, you essentially just slide back and over the top, and it just comes out like this, okay? And then you can see here, there's the actual barrel there, and you can see that there's a bit of some sort of a rod in there that would stop you from trying to use any kind of ammunition in there that fires around, and that's a good thing. And then you also have this little rod in here that goes in. Alright, now I'm going to try and put it back together as easy as possible here. There we go. And now, this is kind of the fun part, getting this in. You kind of want to, you see there's a bit of an angle there. I want to try and stick that in there, and it does fit. You just got to give it a bit of work to get that in there. You just got to push it in, and then it goes in. That wasn't the most graceful field strip, but you can see how it field strips. Now we're going to take apart and field strip this PPK, the Kimar PPK, and what I found is sometimes it doesn't really, you can't rest it on the side like you can with some guns, so I'm just going to put my finger in there and just work the slide off that way. Fairly straightforward, like a lot of guns that are this style. You just pull this down to remove the slide. There you go, and there's the spring inside there. Put that back on. You can see the venting on the top. So we'll put this back together. And you just got to push down so that it pushes down on the hammer just to get that all the way down, and you're ready to go. It's a little bit easier to field strip this gun. Now I just want to throw the magazines in just so you look. I'm not going to actually load any ammunition, so it's not loading into the chamber. But that's what the gun looks like with the magazine in. Gives you a little bit extra room in the bottom. Again, just double check, nothing in there. Let's take a look at the Zoraki. Now the magazine's kind of different because a lot of times this bulkier part's at the front, but with this gun it's at the back. And again, that's what it looks like. A little bit extra room there. Now this gun definitely has a very thick handle, but that's because it's got the double stack magazine. And again, now this spring in here is very, very tight. So this gun, to actually move the slide back, takes a little bit of work. PPK spring, definitely a little bit lighter. Not that much, but a little bit lighter. And sometimes I find with slides, it's easier to just cock it first and then move your slide back. It just makes it a little bit lighter to do that. Now I've shot the PPK, and for the most part it cycles fairly well. It gets the odd misfire. You know, really when you look at the two of them, the build quality of the Zoraki is just so much nicer. It really feels and looks like an actual gun. Just as far as quality goes, I mean, just the finishing and everything is just beautiful. Whereas this gun's, you know, a little bit more like, you know, it's made to just be a blank gun. So the quality isn't as high as it is with the Zoraki. I have not shot the Zoraki yet. It's a little bit, these guns are really loud. When you shoot these things, they are as loud as an actual firearm, and so they're loud. So I'm kind of waiting for October to roll around here. when there's a lot of bangs and booms with Halloween going off, and get away with a bit more noise. So when that happens, I'm gonna take these out and do a little bit, I guess not really a field test, but I'm gonna go and shoot a few rounds through them and get that on video. But that'll be maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks down the road. So to finish this off, I'm just going to do some different views on these guns so you can get a little bit better look at them. Detail here. That's the Lady K by Kimar. And this is the Zoraki Mod.914. Beautiful little gun. By the way, they do make a different version, the 925, that has a larger clip capacity. Takes the same magazine, so you could probably put that magazine in here as well. But it takes the larger clip magazines, and it's more of like a little mini Uzi looking thing. The bottom of it. Different sides here. Again. Now the Kimar, the Lady K, the slide does go back, and it does lock, but that's only when there's a magazine in it. There's no actual slide lock in that one. You have to put a new magazine and then just sort of rock it or rake it really quickly, and it'll go and load up that round. Pretty nice looking little gun though, this one. It's beautiful. So hopefully that gives you an idea, these guns. And that's a pretty heavy little slide. Definitely heavier than most blowback BB guns and pellet guns. Hopefully that gives you an idea of what's available, and you definitely want to check your area's laws and regulations and rules to find out what you're allowed to have and own and purchase, because you don't want to be on the wrong side of the law as far as, you know, carrying these or storing these or transporting them or whatever. And I don't want to even tell you what I think, because I could be wrong and it might be misinformation in your state or where you are, and you know, all I really know is what I'm supposed to do here, and not really anywhere else. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed that, and check down the road for the live firing test of these guns, and I'm going to hopefully do a little full auto burst with the Zoraki as well, and get that on tape. We'll talk to you later. Take care.